can be calculated. So forget comparison of this understanding of the sutra or practicing the sutra. So this is very, very clear that this sutra is beyond comparison. And this is the sutra that teaches us not to compare, not to differentiate, not to, see things differently. When we are able to do this and use this skill in our lives, the only thing that we see is all as one. When we see all as one, our actions are completely filled with compassion. And because they are compassionate actions, we start healing the world. Namaste and good morning, everyone. Welcome back after, I think so, a couple of weeks of break on our Sunday's special Diamond Sutra series. We are back today, and today we're going to cover at least around 6 chapters. They are small but very important chapters. It's so interesting, when we are about to do something, getting your mind focused onto it is very important. Otherwise, we carry the impressions of our previous act, previous experiences into this particular experience. And then we cannot actually experience the new experience as it is or have a new learning as it is. And here we are gathered today to study the Diamond Sutra. Why I'm using the word study is because this has already been taught. This has already been taught 2,500 years ago by Buddha. And we value his teaching by studying it. And so when you see, now we're going to study this Diamond Sutra. We have finished almost around 10 episodes. This is the 10th one, right? We have finished almost 9 episodes. This is the 10th episode. And today we are going to do chapter 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. The whole journey is always going to be an experiential journey. Like it is said, the dharma is pure in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. Similarly, the sutra, like Diamond Sutra, is wise. It gives us wisdom in the beginning, in the middle, in the end. At any point, anywhere you can take any chapter, even 4 verses, you will find the essence of wisdom in it. And that is enough for us to make sure that any other preoccupied thoughts or impressions of either your past action, past experience, do not affect your present experience. So, in Sanskrit, this is called the Vajrachedika Pragya Paramita Sutra. And this version is as it is version because our translator, Acharya Nagajiva, also we commonly know him as Dr. Lim, he has translated this from basically Chinese to English. Okay. And the initial version from Sanskrit to Chinese was done by the great Tripitaka Acharya Kumarajiv. Here again, I would like to let you all know there is no attempt at interpretation or any explanation of the sutras by the translator. So this is being actually translated as it is. And that is why there is no input of Dr. Lim or his suggestion or ideas. We have kept it as it is. That is why we could study it, because it's a teaching that comes as a material that we can study. Now, it will be pretty interesting, and we don't have time right now to go through all that. But I always remind people to know the first chapter, the event leading to the assembly. So, thus have I heard. That's how an authentic sutra starts, because it was a record that was done at the moment when the Buddha was teaching. And it is so important that when you hear a sentence like that, when you see a sentence like that, thus have I heard, it actually ensures the authenticity of the sutra that you are studying. So once the Buddha was in Sravasti, the whole setup is in Sravasti. To add more value here, I would like to also share that our North India Sunyati International Foundation coordinator, Avnish, is planning to have around 1,200 to 1,500 people's gathering, where Dr. Lim will come actually to Shravasti to teach the Diamond Sutra. And that will be one great event. And I'm more eager to know the details about it. As soon as I get, I will share that with you all. So in the same place in Shravasti, which is still there, in Jetvana Grove, there was this grove, like you can call it a park, offered by King Jeta, and so it is called the Jeta Grove. Or also, it was donated by Anantapindika. Anathapindika, it's called. He's called, and he was a great Shresti, a great merchant, a Zoroastrian who offered this particular piece of land for the Buddha and his followers to come and study and practice. And so this whole setup of the Diamond Sutra is in the assembly with around 1,250 great monks. So the number 1,250 also endorses that this is a very earlier part of the teaching of the Buddha. And before the numbers like 10,000 and 20,000 followers come in. So it's a very important sutra, and when somebody is venturing into understanding himself, this becomes the very important material for us to read and understand. So here it all, the sutra, even though it talks about nothingness and shatters all the concepts, it also reminds us that your work and duty is the most important thing. And if you see, the sutra says, before mealtime, the Bhagavan put on his robe, holding his bowl, entered the great city of Shravasti, from house to beg for food. The Bhagavan then returned to the retreat, took his meal, put away the robe and bowl, washed his feet, arranged his seating, and sat down to focus his mind and meditate. It's first action. Then you manage your thoughts. People tend to manage thoughts first and then act. It's not like that. Buddha here himself, the greatest teacher, is telling us that he did everything and then he sits down to focus his mind and meditate. And then the whole story begins, and you all will get to know more about it if you watch the previous episodes of this series. We have finished almost 9 episodes, and if you all have time, you definitely watch those episodes and learn from it. Let's go to chapter 19 today. And chapter 19, the heading says, merit is not merit. Because when we want to do something, there is always an expectation of a reward. Okay, a farmer sows the seed because he wants to reap the fruits of the harvest. So everybody does an act because they want the act to reward them in some way. So here, even our practice, even our goodness, there is always this thought that we accumulate merits. And these merits, the good merits that we get, we can use them for the good thing that comes our way, or we can share it with others. So the title here, merit, is not merit. Subhuti. Subhuti is the person who actually is the initiator in the conversation of the Diamond Sutra. And here it was Subhuti who asked Buddha the question, how to focus the mind and control the thoughts. So now, as you have seen the previous series, it is this conversation that led to the formation of the sutra. And again, Buddha is asking Subhuti, what do you think? Because Subhuti was thinking, by filling the Sahasra, Mahasahasra, Lokadhatu with 7 types of jewels and giving them away as alms, based on this type of cause and condition, is this person's merit to be great? A very simple question to Subhuti. That if the whole universe, we call it the Sahasra, Mahasahasra, Lokadhatu, if they are filled with 7 types of jewels, now that means all the precious things in the world, jewels are the most precious, and all the 7 types, we fill them up. And after you fill them up, like the whole universe becomes the container, the maximum space that you can acquire in a container is the universe itself, and you fill it up, and you give that filled container as alms, as donation, okay, based on the concept of cause and condition, because you're doing a good act, the cause is good, so the condition that you have created should also give you a good result. So Buddha is asking, based on this type of cause and condition, is this person's merit to be great? Is it great? Yes, Bhagwan. Based on the cause and condition, the merit received by the person would be extremely great, because that's the maximum that anybody can give, and he's ready to give all that. So when somebody is giving more than 100%, is he going to actually get something out of it? Yes, extremely great reward will come his way, because he's created the cause and the condition for the result to come out. Subhuti, if this merit was real, the Tathagat would not say that the merit is great. Okay? If it was real, now again Buddha is explaining, Subhuti, if this merit was real, that means now he is differentiating reality and something that is non-real. Okay? If this merit was real, the Tathagata would not have called it, or would not say that the merit is great. Defining something with a adjective like great or not great, high or low, or adding these differentiating factors makes that thing unreal. Okay, so here it is said that the Tathagat would not say that the merit is great, because this merit is empty. The Tathagata says the merit is great because it is empty. Empty here, we have been covering this topic quite often, means not fixed, not holding on to one particular size, structure, shape. Okay? Because it is empty, devoid of its own inherent nature, it is great. Only because of that. Okay? Now, that means it is symbolic. It is directional to something that it means. Only by name it is called great. Let's move on to the next chapter to see how the connect goes on. So from this chapter we realize that great things are not great because they are great. Only for the name's sake we call it great. Okay, so some great Alexander born in some other times was great at that time. Today he's not great. It's already a historical figure. Today somebody else would be contributing in a different way and he would be great. So great is again a name that is given to a condition and cause that at that moment and at that time was relevant. But when times change, the greatness of that thing will also change. Okay. So Tathagata cannot be seen by bodily signs. Chapter 20. Okay. Now we go to chapter 20. Previous chapter, what do we understand is merit is not merit is because all the greatness that you think you have done, remember this, do not have a fixed idea that it's something great. Keep on doing, because only for the namesake it is called great. So your greatness can never stop. You do great things, keep on doing great things, keep on contributing great things, keep on giving, keep on sharing. That is your job. Only then that greatness which cannot be measured will be understood. Okay. Chapter 20. Tathagata cannot be seen by bodily signs. Okay, I again open the floor for questions at any point. Anybody has any questions can raise their hands. Okay, it's not a kind of a teaching, we are doing studying. And studying is more interactive. If you think, that there is some thought that comes in your mind and you want to clarify that, you can definitely approach. We might have a, shared discussion on it and we can clear that. Okay, let's move on. Chapter 20. Tathagat cannot be seen by bodily signs. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Buddha be seen by his completely perfect body? First, the Tathagata, the Buddha's body is perfect. So the question here to Subhuti is, can the Buddha be seen by his completely perfect body? Subhuti is very clear in answering. He says, no, Bhagwan. The Tathagat cannot be seen by his completely perfect body. Okay? Why is this so? What the Tathagata calls a completely perfect body is not a perfect body. Just by name, it is called a completely perfect body. Now Subhuti is clear. He's saying, no. You are calling the body of the Buddha as a perfect body, but I understand. Only for the reason of calling it, you're calling it as a perfect body. But the Buddha cannot be seen with that perfect body. Okay? Buddha is beyond that perfection of body also. Because when there is going to be a term called perfect, automatically there arises another term called imperfect. Okay, as soon as there is one, the other one exists. So that is where the duality begins. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Tathagat be seen by perfect bodily signs? First, whether the Buddha can be seen by a perfect body. Second, he's saying that whether the Tathagat, first it was asking was whether the Buddha can be seen by a perfect body. Second, he's asking, can the Tathagat, means the one who is giving or teaching us as it is, can he be seen by a perfect bodily sign? Forget the body be perfect. But can the signs of the body, okay, the signature marks of the body, with those perfection, can you see the Buddha or the Tathagat? No, Bhagwan. Again, Subhuti clears. The Tathagat cannot be seen by perfect bodily signs. You cannot even see the Tathagat with perfect bodily signs. Why is this so? Those signs that the Tathagat has called perfect are actually not perfect. Just by name, he says that these are perfect. So he is clarifying. So whichever terminology that Tathagata is using for the signs which he is calling as perfect, he knows, Subhuti knows very clearly, they are only and only meant for that context that he is teaching, that context that he is referring to. It does not imply that they are so. They would change with things and time. Okay, so they are basically empty in nature. Okay, so again, moving forward, we conclude in the 20th chapter that Tathagat cannot be seen either as a completely perfect body, that's the Buddha cannot be seen as a completely perfect body, nor can he not be seen, okay, the other side. Also, the Tathagat cannot be seen by the perfect bodily signs, nor he cannot be seen by the perfect bodily signs. You have to look at if you get yourself fixed at one, you're gone. Okay, do not fix anything in your mind. Don't have a concept developed. That is what Buddha is trying to teach in the Diamond Sutra. Don't have a fixed idea about things, because this world is so you can say in a flux, ever changing, that you need to have your mind reflecting things that change. Once it holds on to things, once it fixes it things, then we are gone. Then we cannot interact with the world. Then the world becomes a world of suffering. Saying is not saying, chapter 21. Subhuti, do not assume that the Tathagat thinks he has something to teach. Okay, now the teacher is telling the same thing. After all this teaching, he's saying, Subhuti, do not assume. He's making it very clear. No assumption, because assumptions are born from concepts, ideas, beliefs, and all those things. So he's saying, do not assume that the Tathagat thinks he has something to teach. So he is also making it very clear that, hey Subhuti, do not assume that the Tathagata is thinking that he has something to teach, because Tathagata has no agenda, no concept, no idea that he has to think that he is teaching. I do not even have such a thought. He is making it very clear. I don't even have such a thought or intention that he is teaching. Why is this so? If someone says that the Tathagata has something to teach, then he is slandering the Buddha, because he does not understand my real teaching. As soon as somebody even quotes that the Tathagata has something to teach, Buddha is making very clear in this sutra that if someone says that the Tathagata has something to teach, then he is slandering the Buddha. That's an insult to the Buddha. Okay, because he does not understand my real teaching. So Buddha is making very clear that as a Tathagata, he has no fixed teaching. He has nothing to teach, making sure that you have to become blind followers. He is just giving you the insight into understanding. Subhuti, in the teaching of the Dharma, there is no Dharma to be taught. When you are teaching certain qualities, certain aspects of nature, there cannot be something that you can fix and say this is it, because the ever changing, the ever moving or non-constant Dharma cannot be taught in a fixed way. It's like You cannot have a fixed drawing of an amoeba. The shape of amoeba keeps on changing. And hence, you cannot say that this shape of the amoeba is the right shape. You cannot fix the colors of the flower of a tree and saying that the red roses will come from this tree. The shades of reds might change depending on the season, the nutrition, so many things. Nature is never fixed, and dharma is also like that. So Buddha is saying very clearly, Subhuti, in the teaching of the dharma, when the Tathagata is teaching the dharma, there is no dharma to be taught. There is nothing to be taught. Just by name, it is called the teaching the dharma. Just by name, it is called teaching the dharma. Same, when we say we are teaching shunya, we are teaching somebody shunya practice. Technically, if somebody tells us that Dr. Lim has some teaching to teach, he is actually slandering Dr. Lim. He is telling that Dr. Lim has some idea, some concept about teaching. No, what he is doing here is he is sharing a way. Just by noon, we are calling this shunya. There is technically no shunya. There is no teaching in shunya. We are just because how do I even categorize that? How do I even understand? I need a name, I need a form, I need a technique to do that. We share that. The shunya basically is there is no shunya. There is no teaching. There is nothing in shunya. Just by name it is called so. Okay, and then by name it is called as teaching the shunya or teaching the dharma. You will see in the 9 no's. Now you realize why we say there is nothing to teach. It comes from here. Okay, remember the 9 no's of the shunya comes from this sutra. Then the wise Subhuti said to the Buddha. Now here they are adding an adjective to Subhuti, saying, then the wise Subhuti said to the Buddha, Bhagwan, will there be in the future ages some beings who upon hearing will believe this dharma? Now, Subhuti is asking Buddha, is telling him, Bhagwan, will there be in future ages, the time that will follow, like today's time, some beings who upon hearing will believe this dharma? The Buddha said, Subhuti, it is not about beings or non-beings. Why is this so? Subhuti, the so-called beings Tathagata has taught are not beings. Just by name they are called beings. He is even clarifying the idea that when he is teaching about beings, different types of beings and all that also cannot be a separate entity. You cannot separate that out because they are also all one. Only by the namesake is called beings. And when Subhuti is asking that, okay, in future ages, when there will be beings, there is already a separate idea, a concept that there are beings that are different now and there will be beings different then. So even Buddha is clearing that very, very clearly here, saying that the so-called beings that Tathagata has taught, means during the sutra, are not beings. Just by name they are called as beings. Only and only for you to understand we are calling it beings. There is no such thing as a separate being. Everything is interconnected. So, many a times, we fight in life, husband and wife, they quarrel. Because sometimes when anger comes in, a mind and a tongue, they lose their synchronicity. They don't sing together. The mind is so angry that sometimes you speak something that you never meant. And most of the time that hurts so many people, And that feeling, that hurt is what people fix into. But at that time, if somebody is wise enough, he understands this is not he who is speaking. It's the anger. It's that feeling that is very temporary, that just spelled out something. And this person does not mean anything. So all these things, the person who can see through all that will never ever have a fixed idea about things and situations. He will know that everything is conditional, everything is situational. So very, very important that there is an application of this in our lives. Okay, every chapter of Diamond Sutra can be applied in our real life. So do not even have fixed ideas and concepts about people saying something, because saying is never saying, is not saying. It is only and only meant for that context. So somebody said something to you at a certain period of time, at a certain situation, at a certain circumstances, because of a certain reason, does not apply for lifetime. It is only for that phase. Like I would say, for example, the kind of anger and hatred between two communities within India that caused the split of the country. That was at those times, those situations, those circumstances. But today there is nothing like that. And those two countries or three countries all actually are still one country itself, if you look at it, because it's the culture, it's the heritage that binds us, not our opinions. Okay, so please understand, opinions are always differentiating factors, and we should respect everybody's opinion as we respect every differentiation. But underlying all the differentiation is one thing that unites us all, and that is our true nature, that we all are beings here who want to experience the same kind of happiness and bliss that everybody else wants. Okay, so the ultimate goal is peace for everyone, and that is what we want. Moving on to chapter 22. Nothing is attained in the dharma. Okay, Subhuti said to the Buddha, Bhagwan, when you attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, is it that you have attained nothing? Now Subhuti is very wisely putting forth a question to Buddha. Subhuti said to the Buddha, Bhagwan, when you attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, is it that you have attained nothing? Yes, Subhuti, for Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, I have not attained even the least dharma. Just by name, it is called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Now here you have to understand dharma is being used to give a particular name or a stage of somebody's understanding or enlightenment. And when Buddha had attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, Subhuti is asking, did you not achieve anything? And Buddha is confirming, Subhuti, when I achieved Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, I did not attain even the least of dharma. Why? Because there is nothing, there is no thing out there called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Only for name's sake it is called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. So this is very important for us to know, that when somebody has achieved something and we name that thing, it's only for the namesake that that thing has been achieved. But in technicality, there is nothing out there. There is nothing, to be achieved out there. One has to do and reach that stage through his basic work, through hard work, through effort. And that's what we do in Shunya. So there is anything to achieve in Shunya? No. Now you get another thing that in our nine no's. Is there anything to achieve in Shunya? No. What do we achieve? We achieve nothing. Why? Because actually only for the sake of name, we call it our achievement of red belt. We call it our achievement of orange belt. We call it our achievement of yellow belt. These are only for the namesakes. Do you think technically there is any belt out there? Is there any red belt out there? Is there any orange belt out there? Yellow belt out there? No, there is no belt. But you can, only for the namesake of our progress, for our understanding, we have identified as this, only for the namesake. So this is very important. Even the highest realization called the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi that the Buddha achieved is not an achievement. It is only a stage that one can achieve again. And it is not fixed. It could vary. Somebody who understands this earlier can get it earlier. Somebody who can realize this a little late can get it late. It's only a stage where one can actually strive hard to attain. But again, after all that, there is no attainment. Moving on. Chapter 23. No differentiation in dharmas. Furthermore, Subhuti, there is no differentiation in dharma. It is neither high nor low teaching. Okay? So, Buddha is clarifying to Subhuti that there is no differentiation in dharma. Because as soon as you differentiate in dharma, then all the conflict and all the concepts come in and all the problems come in. You should understand the basic ingredient of dharma is non-differentiation. So, you cannot say the dharma is high or low. Okay? You cannot say that. Same is the teaching of the dharma cannot be high teaching or low teaching. Just by name, it is called as Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Even the stage of highest realization of dharma is called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. So somebody, now let's go back to our 7 belts. Red belt. When you look at the red belt, when somebody is practicing red belt and experiences a kind of peace by practicing 9 to 0, 29 to 0, 99 to 0, he is experiencing the glimpse of peace, a kind of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi of his level. And he is experiencing it. The other person who is going to practice the yellow belt and is, not even counting and nothing, but the kind of experience he is having the experience of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi at his level. You cannot say that the red belt did not get that access or did not have that experience. And you cannot say the yellow belt only got it. Everybody got it in their different stages. And hence, it is neither high nor low. Okay, even your practice cannot be high and low. It is only and only that every day we just keep on improving so that we are able to condition ourselves to focus. We are conditioning ourselves to not get distracted. When one does not attach to self, people, beings or existence, cultivates all kinds of good virtues, that is dharmas, then one attains Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Very clearly, how does one attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? When one does not attach to self, people, beings or existence. That means any contextual ideas or beliefs that you have of something called separate from you as a self and the other as other self, something as people and the other as some non-people, there's something as beings and non-beings and existence and non-existence. One who goes beyond that and does not attach to anything actually is the one who is able to cultivate all kinds of virtues because he sees no differentiation. Because he is able to see non-differentiation, that is why he achieves the highest state of realization called as the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Now you would wonder, why is Buddha stretching or stressing on the fact about what is the attainment of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? For that you'll have to go to the very previous chapters where Subhuti was asking if a virtuous man or a virtuous woman who wishes to achieve the highest state of realization called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, how should they focus their mind and control their thoughts? So this is where the whole conversation began. Now Buddha is clarifying, first, there is nothing called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi to be achieved. On the other hand, he says the one who does not see any differentiation in the dharmas is the one who can actually cultivate the good karma, the virtues, and be virtuous enough, follow the Panchashila, interact with the world, that is the world of through non-differentiation. And because he does so, he achieves the highest state of realization called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. So Buddha did answer Subhuti's query. Okay, he did not mislead him. Subhuti, the Tathagata says that these so-called good teachings are not good teachings. Just by name, they are called as good teachings. Even good and bad, you cannot tag. As soon as I say this is good teaching, then all the other might be bad. Somebody might use this good to differentiate everybody else. So again, understand, when somebody tags something good or something bad, okay, do not have a fixed idea about it. It is again referential and contextual to that moment and that thing. You cannot say a person who is a smoker is a bad person. You cannot have the tag. Maybe that habit is a bad habit, but to tag that bad habit and to make that person bad is absolutely wrong. Because post the smoking of the cigarette, the person still would be a good person, even though he was involved. So once you get out of the tagging system and applying it across all domains, then you are able to see the true dharma of non-differentiation. Okay, so even the good teachings that the Tathagata teaches, they are only for the namesake called as good teachings. There is no good teaching as such. Chapter 24th. Okay, incomparable merits and wisdom of the sutra. The title itself, there's incomparable merits. Why? Because that's what the whole sutra is teaching us. Do not compare. Do not differentiate. So the heading itself is beautifully put by Dr. Levi, saying incomparable merits, because merits cannot be compared. Somebody's merit, somebody's achievement cannot be compared to somebody else's achievement. The greatest player in football cannot be better than the greatest player in cricket. He cannot be like that. You cannot compare their contribution to the game. It cannot be so. So you cannot compare merits and the wisdom also, especially from this sutra. Why? Because this sutra essentially is meant for you to take away all the basic nature of your mind to differentiate. And once the mind does not differentiate, it sees the true nature of things. Subhuti, if one accumulates 7 types of jewels and heaps them to the like of Mount Sumeru in all of the 3 Sahasra, Mahasahasra Lok Dhatu, the merit gained by such a person compared to the one who memorized, recited and explained to others even 4 lines of verses of this Paramita Sutra, it is not even 100 or nor a billionth part, nor any part of a number that can be calculated. Okay, so we missed on the slide, but no problem. Incomparable. So chapter 24 basically talks about incomparable merits and wisdom of the sutra. So Subhuti, if one accumulates, imagine, no, Buddha is asking Subhuti, if one accumulates all the 7 types of jewels, okay, all the jewels, 7 types, and then heaps them. Now, when he's saying heaping them, means he's trying to make a formation, right? And into the like of the Mount Sumeru, the tallest in the center of the universe, Mount Sumeru. Imagine all the jewels have been put into that thing called Mount Sumeru, of the size of Mount Sumeru, in all of the 3 Sahasra, Mahasahasra, Lok Dhatu. Means actually, if you consider the 3 Sahasra, Mahasahasra, Lok Dhatu as the, you can say, the container, and you fill it up with 7 jewels and heat them up, means not even like, when you have a bowl, like this bowl, when you have a bowl and you can fill this up. Sometimes you can fill it up flat. Sometimes you are so good, you can fill it up and make a heap of it, and you can offer so that it can even fall. Imagine you are able to fill up the whole 3 Sahasra, Mahasahasra, Lok Dhatu with the, magnitude of filling it up to the size of Mount Sumeru, okay, with 7 jewels. Okay, the merit gained by such a person, when you will compare, okay, now when you will compare the merit, somebody who's giving so much to somebody who is going to actually compare that with one who memorizes, recites and explains to others even 4 verses of this Paramita Sutra, is not even 100 nor a billionth part, nor any part that can be calculated. You cannot compare. Okay, so one is a duty. Okay, when we are giving something, that you cannot compare with teaching. It cannot be compared at all. Again, it is very, very clear here that the merits that one can achieve, the celestial merits and the the supreme merits, they are 2 different things. When you do some good act, you sow one seed into the soil, you will get what you sowed as a tree. But when you actually teach somebody, that merit is, because it does not have any form, it doesn't have any structure, you cannot have any comparison. And hence, the comparison of teaching to something that you do cannot be matched. They are incomparable. And the merits that you can achieve in both are different. That is definitely comparable, but on the celestial side, but the supreme merits, they are incomparable, and one can achieve that by teaching even 4 verses, reciting even 4 verses, or even memorizing 4 verses of this great Paramita Sutra. And there is no comparison, not even 100th or a billionth part, nor any part that can be calculated. So forget comparison of this understanding of the sutra or practicing the sutra. So this is very, very clear that this sutra is beyond comparison, and this is the sutra that teaches us not to compare, not to differentiate, not to, see things differently. When we are able to do this and use this skill in our lives, the only thing that we see is all as one. When we see all as one, our actions are completely filled with compassion. And because they are compassionate actions, we start healing the world. You see, if this hand gets hurt, this hand is not able to move. Because it is still my hand, it is connected to my body, this hand still serves it, It takes care of it. This hand automatically becomes compassionate. Now you would say, no, no, no. It is you who is compassionate. Actually, the hand is not. But technically, it is one body, in one mind, in one structure. Even though they are separate, the compassion that this has is because there is no differentiation. This hand does not see this as different because this does not have its own independent existence. It is through me that I see. And that is how the whole universe is. There is no differentiation. We all are one. And that compassion that is born because of oneness will make sure that no one around us can ever suffer, because their suffering is our suffering. And hence, this great, incomparable merits that one achieves and the wisdom that one can achieve from this sutra is tremendous. Okay? When I'm saying great, when I'm saying tremendous, they are only and only meant for the sutra, for your understanding. Okay? Don't hold on to that and then belittle the other sutras or belittle the other teachings. Do not do that. It is meant that this is amazing, this is great, this is incomparable. Hence, I will not be able to compare it with anybody else. But maybe next time we are studying another sutra of the Buddha, maybe that also is great, incomparable, cannot have any comparison. That will also be unique and different. Okay? So very, very important that we understand that the only way to engage in the world is through not differentiating. This is the essence of this sutra. So that brings us to the end of a 6-chapter series that we did today. I think we covered up enough. And it was a marathon run, but I think we did it good. And I'm sure the mind is also now very, very happy and focused, because Subhuti's question, that how does a virtuous man and a woman who is seeking to achieve the highest state of realization called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, how can they achieve that, and how do they control their thoughts and focus their mind? So very clearly, I think now we are at the almost last phase of now concluding the understanding of the sutra. And with this, the doubt of Subhuti is also getting clarified, and our doubts and our understanding of the sutra is also getting clear. And we now value that the 9 no's of Shunya are basically the essence of the Diamond Sutra. And when one teaches the 9 no's to anyone, he's actually teaching the Diamond Sutra for modern times. So do not hesitate. Keep teaching the 9 no's, as many people you can. Okay? That is like giving them the token that someday they will visit and see the understanding of the Diamond Sutra. That brings us to the end of the 24th chapter that we covered. So we covered 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 6. Wow. So we see you next week, if time permits and if I'm here, for the chapter 25 onwards. We'll see how much chapters we can cover. Until then, thank you so much for your time and have a great Sunday. Bye-bye. Namaste.